Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Legend tells of a wishing star, of a single wish waiting to be granted. Kitties of Boss, I need your help.
Is the great Puss in Boots asking for help?
Well, you see, get it, please. That wish could get me my lives back.
Okay, Possum Face. I won't make you beg. But first...
Hey, slow down!
I know what I'm doing.
What? What's funny? Nothing should be funny.
Quieto.
Everyone is looking for the wishing star.
I'm going to wish for everything to be just right.
One strapping and two's a crowd and three's a party. Got big on
You will find your reward does not come easily.
Puss in Boots?
Goldie?
Bears?
All right, let's get it over with. Without lives to spare, I am nothing.
When you only have one life, that's what makes it special.
Go get him, Tiger.
Hey, take it easy.
All right, this is Adolf, and I have with me Jacob.
Hi, everybody.
And we're doing a quick spoiler cast for Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish.
Okay.
So, Puss in Boots 2, what spoiler stuff do you really want to go into?
I mean, mainly just how the story wraps up, just mainly the big character reveal of the wolf, the bounty hunter.
Actually being death itself.
Yes.
That was amazing. I was like, oh, wow. And he said, I'm not, I am literally him. I'm not representation, not metaphor. I was like, damn.
Yeah. I am just death incarnate.
And I actually really loved how all of them got to the star. All of them, were different parts of the star going together. I was like, damn it, that's so good.
It is.
I loved when they got out, what the hell is it called? When Jack Horner pulled out, not Geppetto. Geppetto? No.
Jiminy Cricket.
Jiminy Cricket. Oh my god, that was hilarious.
I love how he sounded like Jimmy Stewart. He's like, what are you doing here?
I mean, that's how he did it the original, so that's referencing that.
Right.
Oh, and I love the Pinocchio from Shrek having a cameo here.
And Gingy.
And Gingy, yeah. And then I actually really liked that Goldilocks' arc about how she was abandoned and how the bears actually found her and took her in. I was like, oh, it's actually really sweet. And
yeah.
And then we figured out that Goldilocks was like, yeah, I want to be on my own human family. I was like, oh, bitch.
Yeah, are you too stupid to realize that they're your family?
And I love her accent, too.
Oh, yeah, I do, too.
And Perito was so good. So good in this. And, when he cussed them out, the three bears, I was laughing so hard. I felt a little bit bad for the girl that was next to me because I felt guilty, but I was like, I'm enjoying this. Why do I have to feel guilty? I'm in theater. I'm enjoying this. I paid money for this. But I was laughing so hard. I know you mentioned the beeps and it had one beep before, but that part was hilarious.
I loved it. It's Perito is just such a wholesomely good character to hear him do that. It was just funny. It's like, did I do a good job? Yes, you did.
Oh, and then when they got into the dark woods, and every time each person had the map, it changed. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when when they knew that, and then they're like, oh, then I'll get the map and I'll change it to then make things harder for everyone else. I was like, oh my god, that's so smart of them.
Oh yeah, and I also kind of like the metaphor of with Perito. It's like, oh, the roses. You got to stop to smell the roses. It's nice metaphor on life.
Yeah, and that when he talks to his origin story, and you can just see the how Kitty and Puss were like, oh my god, you don't know how horrible that story is about being tied up in a sock and thrown into the river to die. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, that was pretty dark and bleak.
And he's just so happy.
But he kept on the brighter side of life, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. He found the light in the darkness.
And then I love that that they're going to get married, Puss in Boots and Kitty, and then that he decided not to go, and then that's why she feels bad that they have that negativity toward each other, and then she's like, I wasn't there either, and I was like, oh, that's so good. But how did she know he wasn't there?
What else was there? I was going to say something. It slipped my mind. Shoot.
Oh, when they were in the crystal cave and Puss was arguing with his other versions of himself, that was so smart and so well done, and so deep.
It was.
What other awesome things here? How the Goldilocks was about to just totally, throw the bears under the bus, but she came back to save them. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and the mama bear was totally understanding. It's like, I want what's best for you. Just that delightful British accent. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, I really love that all of them had that kind of. It felt like really authentic accents too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Florence Pugh, I think, is British. Olivia Colman is obviously British. I don't know who played the dad or the baby. I thought the baby was James Corden at first, but luckily it wasn't.
Baby was Samson Kayo. I never heard of him. Mama Bear was Olivia Colman. And Papa Bear was Ray Winston.
Okay. Oh, that's funny because Florence Pugh and Ray Winston was in Black Widow together. Funny.
And then I love when Jack Horner got the sword out of the stone and started using it. And I was like, well, I could never find the stone. I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so smart. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't need the whole thing. You just use it as a club. Cool.
Yeah. I loved how he had Mary Poppins' bag. And also rug from Aladdin or carpet from Aladdin.
Yeah.
Oh, that was pretty funny.
And that's how they could, have their edge back and make fun of Disney, but not make fun of Disney. Because we know what they're referencing Disney stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, that could be, that bag could be Mary Poppins' bag, but it could also be so many other characters' bags,
It could have.
Was it the Black Cat, Felix? Didn't he have a bag of tricks too?
Yes, he did.
So, yeah, and then I was like, why aren't they going to Shrek to stay with him? And then at the end, when they're like, oh, we're going to go see an old friend. And I was like, far, far away. Got it.
Yeah.
Good.
Although instead of that, I wish it was, because didn't they go back to the swamp at the end of the fourth Shrek movie? Or am I just misremembering it?
I think so.
I kind of wish it was just him appearing outside of the edges of the swamp. He sees the warning ogre sign or something, and they're like, oh, that would have been a nice but I guess far, far away is a better visual representation of that visually. But that's just me.
It seems like Kitty and Puss are just going to be together, which I love.
And Perito's just going to tag along.
Yeah, it's great. Great.
Yes.
And then Perito actually was able to make the adorable face.
Yeah.
So good.
Without having a hernia.
Yeah. And all those jokes were shown in the trailer, but I still loved it. I still thought
I did too.
That intro when they were fighting the giant, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Just how they were fast paced, running around and jumping around and having just that kind. It was just so kinetic and so fast and so just a visual treat to watch.
Yes. Easily the best animated movie of the year. I mean, I haven't seen Pinocchio yet, but I mean, it's better than Minions, better than Turning Red, I assume, better than Lightyear, definitely.
And DreamWorks, this is so top notch for them. I was not, I read your review, I knew what to expect, and I was like, still, this is awesome. This is so much better, and I was so happy. And I was like, I waited to see if there was a post credit, but there wasn't anything.
Yeah, I looked it up, and I'm like, once the credits roll, you can just skip out, so I did that, but I don't know, the artwork during the credits was so pretty. I did stick around a little bit for that.
That's what I ended up doing too, because it's like, oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
But then I was the only one in there, and I seen the usher come, and I'm like, crap, I gotta leave, so I just ducked out.
Oh, and I said this in the spoiler-free review. Or I don't know if I'm going to edit it out yet, but how when they visit the cat and the cat lady is like, "Are you the health department?" And I was like, "Oh, that's funny. That's clever." And then she was like, "Oh, you see that he's there for looks like weeks, if not months. That's how he grew the beard, and like you see him get depressed as he's there and just succumb to it, and it's like you see that on screen." And it's just a montage, but it's a beautiful way to show breaking his spirit, and it's so good.
Yeah, he became content, and like he actually started enjoying. I guess not really enjoying, but like I guess accepting his retirement. They're like, that's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, I guess accepting is probably the best term for it, or just like okay,
or coming to terms, whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like the cat lady kind of made me think of Mirabelle from Encanto a little bit with the glasses and the hair, but
yeah,
that's just me. Like maybe it's another thing against Disney.
Originally, I wanted Perito to be Gabriel Iglesias, but I think Harvey Guillén was probably better. Was better than Gabriel because I think that would have worked really well. But I think Harvey did such a great job. I think he did better than he could have. I wanted it to be,
Well, I mean, because Gabriel Iglesias is funny, but I don't think he'd be able to bring the heart or the likability of Perito out. So
they have a very similar voice. I could almost see that that's them.
They do, because I thought that was who it was, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, apparently he's from that show Narcos, I think. I don't know who he played, but
he's in a Mickey Mouse Funhouse.
Oh, as who?
Funny, I guess. That's and then What We Do in the Shadows. And then he's I'm just looking at his IMDb. He's Nightwing in Harley Quinn. Oh,
okay.
So he's been around, but I never knew a face to his name. He's an Archer. So okay, cool.
Nice.
And yeah, Maloney, I know you thought his voice was annoying, but I actually was like, this character model is so weird. And then they explain it, and I was like, okay, I'm cool. I'm game.
Yeah. I mean, I think because it seemed a little bit too much like Peter Parker to me. And like whenever you mentioned it during the review, it's like, yeah, okay, now I can place it. Like, yeah, it sounds too much like Peter Pig or Peter Pork or whatever his name was from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Peter Parker.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought he was just a really you want to hate him, and it's so good to hate him, and you're like, it's okay. It's okay to hate him. He literally is using his henchmen to walk on their backs to go over a bridge.
Yeah, it's like the two henchmen who he hired to steal the map. He gave one of them the Midas touch, and the brother didn't care. It just belted him, or was going to, because carted him off, weight in gold.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's why it's at the edge of the back. That they could do that. Disney wouldn't do that.
No, they'd wimp out.
That's, they would do the finger maybe, but not all the way where literally he's dead, but it's like, you know what? Okay, cool. I could take this. It's good enough. And it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, no honor among thieves, and, a human-sized amount of gold is a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Especially then, and still now, a human-sized amount of gold, I don't know how many pounds that human was, even if it's 100 pounds, that's still a ton of money.
Because it's like, what is it, $10,000 an ounce or 18? I can't remember how much it is an ounce currently, but it's a lot.
So, assuming the human was 100 pounds, which is, I guess, decent for that era, for that size. He looked like a average, 5'3" human being.
Yeah.
It's about currently worth $2 million.
Wow, nice chunk of change for just stealing a map.
So yeah, but just loving how many different things came out of that bag, and I was like, okay, and then I was like, is it? And then him coming back, I was like, I'm happy he's back. Actually, I liked seeing him fight and using so many random ass things from that bag, and yeah, and like the bubbles and stuff, so cool.
Yeah,
and just how colorful it was when they kept changing the thing, and so good.
it is visual feast. And if Avatar hadn't come out not just the same weekend but the same year, it would be like the best 3D of the year besides the Avatar re-release. But nope.
And it definitely is like one of those things where like we're just not expecting it to be this good, because it's just like, okay, it's a Puss in Boots movie. The first one was really good. I remember really enjoying it, and like, okay, I haven't seen it, but okay, I enjoyed it, and it's better than the last Shrek movie, so okay. And they hit it out of the park, and I hope the Shrek uses this art style too, because it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the detail is not as detailed as I would like, but it's the style is just so pretty.
Yeah. Like, especially during the action scenes, it's just so stylized and everything. And I just love the character design, especially the death character, especially with the red eyes and that wolf whistle is just,
Yeah, and they just did such a good job of making him scary, and making him scary to Puss too. And you could see the animation, how scared he was, and scared of death. And it's like, and it's not really even about the bounty. It's about finally coming around to getting him, and how he deals with death, and then how everyone else, once they figured out that's who he actually is, they were scared too. I was like, that's so good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed like how like they fought, but like Death finally was like scared of Puss and it was like, enjoy your life, and Puss was like, I will, it's just like, that's so heartwarming, and I really want him to succeed and everything. I just want him to be happy.
And I was really expecting, okay, Puss is not going to get it, Kitty's Hot Paws is not going to get it, Jack Horner is not going to get it. The bear is probably not going to get it. So who's going to get it? And it's like, okay, probably going to be for Perito. And as you said, that's going to be predictable. He didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, good. I'm glad he didn't get it, because that's what I was expecting to happen.
Same.
And I was expecting that some of the characters would actually just, not die, but disappear. Like, okay, maybe that's it for the bears. Like, no, okay, cool, they're here. Nice. They did the too hot, too cold joke with Goldilocks enough that it was good, and they did it. If they did like one more time, it would have been too much for me.
Yeah, I mean, it still would have been better than the bleeding goat from Thor 4. Just like
the crying,
constantly
the screaming. Yeah, not the bleeding goat, the screaming goat. Yeah,
I mean, like the bleat. Yeah. It was like, it's so annoying. I hated it.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that every time that goat screamed, they laughed. And I was like, really?
Really? Like the first couple times, maybe.
I was like, okay, that's kind of funny for once. Okay, as a reference to this old video, okay. But it's just kind of got annoying. And it's like, okay. But the way that they were the writing was just so sharp. And I like that he buried, he had his own funeral for himself, and like he buried his costume. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then like he had the Perito gave him a little stick to have a sword, and they threw it, and then he went to go fetch it. I was like, oh.
It's so wholesome. This whole character arc.
Yeah, and then like that he, Perito's, just like, the shirt he's wearing is not a shirt, it's a sock. The sock that his other pup mates have threw him into the river with rocks to drown him. It's like, oh, that's so heartbreaking.
I mean, like, he doesn't even have a name. They just keep calling him Perito. Then he's like, look, like I think they try to call him Jeff. And then like, no, I actually prefer Perito. I'm like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. It's just happy that way. I was like, oh. Yeah. It's just so wholesome and sweet. And it's like, he just completely balanced out the deeper elements there, and I love that the action was just so fun and so fast, and like I kind of would like to see this in 48 frames per second.
Yeah,
because like it's so fast. It's like, oh yeah, it's so smooth, and
so crisp.
yeah, I just want to go home and pet my cat because it's so pretty.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked how like they referenced so many cats there, and like he could talk and he knows what's going on, but the other ones don't really know or anything, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
And even the governor was funny.
Yeah. I like how he kind of appeared back at the end.
Yeah, and just like he would have survived that fight against the giant if he wasn't so cocky.
Yeah.
And like all the death scenes of him dying in the 8 lives before were funny, so dark but funny.
They were.
I was like, oh, I'm laughing at him dying. It's like so messed up.
Like I think my favorite one was the shellfish thing.
Yeah. And having those the Pinocchio and just having those references to Shrek, but not be references to Shrek, and having those actors come back, and it's like, oh, this is so good.
It is.
So yeah, I was like, no, you said it was predictable. I was like, okay, I guess all of them will get to the star, sure. And it's like, okay, no, I wasn't predicting that. Oh, I wasn't predicting Horner would have this bag of tricks that kept having fun stuff that I could never know what the hell is going to be next. And
Well, I bet I meant predictable as the end goal, not like certain elements,
okay.
But like like it was going to be a happy ending, of course. But
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I did like the bears was kind of scary too.
Yeah, at first, and then it's just like, oh, they're kind of lovable idiots, or just like an average family,
But it's just how they were working together too. They had chemistry like a real family too. So it's like,
oh yeah.
And then Softpaws, they said that she was the Claude. I was like, oh yeah, that's actually really good that they mentioned that. That's okay. Wow. And the camera movement was so flashy, but it worked so well.
Oh yeah. And like I was kind of worried about the movie because it's been in production hell for a while, and then I noticed that I was looking at IMDb. The guy who directed also did The Croods 2. I'm like, oh. And then but this one was just a really solid movie. Like, well, better than solid. It was a fantastic movie.
And I loved how they have like some of the anime tropes of like running fast into the camera, but they make it work.
Right.
It's such a wonderful movie. And I don't know what else to really say, but if you haven't watched it, go watch it.
Oh yeah.
And
3D if you have the capability.
Yeah. Just having them run around and having that, how they shoot it with the camera, and like they're running toward the camera and they're running away, and just jumping around and having the awesome camera movement and the cinematography to match. It's not a slow movie, it's a fast movie, and just the camera keeping up and having that 3D just kind of builds you into it. Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a gorgeous movie, and honestly one of the best animated films I've seen in a while. Like, if it had come out this year, I would probably see The Bad Guys, but this one is solid, one of the best of the year, like the best of the year.
Yeah.
And one of the best animated films in quite a long time.
Yeah, DreamWorks is really hitting it. And I feel like it's not only a fun animated movie, because the Pixar movies, I love them to bits, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they forget that they're not animated, and that they go so heavy in some of the things that they kind of stop being fun. And this movie stays being fun. It still has great animation and fun scenes, and it still has that energy that it needs to. So it's more than just a cartoon, like an animated TV show cartoon. It's an actual film. It has that depth, and it has that seriousness like a Pixar movie, but it doesn't slow down too slow like some Pixar movies that go on, and it hits you over the head, but it doesn't hit you over the head. It hits your heart, but it doesn't hit you over the head in a way that sometimes the Pixar movies, I love them, I love them, I love them, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if I really want to watch them again because it's so heavy and it hits so hard that it's devastating.
Right, and like they're also not really worried about like, well, we're having the first gay character. I'm like, I mean, I'm for representation and stuff, but like, I don't want it to be the main focus of the movie. I just want there to be a fun, entertaining ride and with heart and, depth. And this is what this movie delivered.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to have that. I agree. It's nice to have it. But like, you could have the depth and be fun and be animated all at the same time. And it doesn't get too preachy. It doesn't get, if you're a kid, you won't get the depth of too much of it, but if you're an adult, you'd be like, damn, this is really hitting some deep themes of death and regret and everything. And it's just like, damn, they didn't have to do this. And the voice acting is so good that it's just like, I just so caught up into this, and it's like, I want to see it again.
I mean, like, it actually had scope too. Like, it was actually a big adventure. It wasn't like, I expected Lightyear to be like a big adventure, but it was just relatively small scale. It was just on that planet, a few things like a few miles away from their base, and that was that. And whereas this is like, well, it takes place all over these lands, and it's just a big fun adventure, epic almost.
Yeah, no, it is. And that's a great way of putting it. It becomes a film quality caliber where it's more than just a big episode of something. That's
right.
The biggest critique that a lot of TV shows that become movies get. Oh, it's just a long episode. It doesn't really get the bigger scope. It doesn't go deeper than a regular episode can. It doesn't have the character development. This has all that. And it's so much fun. And so it has everything. That's why it's like the whole package for me. It has the heart. It has it has the great animation, great voice acting. It has everything. I wouldn't change a thing in this.
No.
And it's like, okay, wow, perfect. Okay, perfect.
If I would change the release date so it wouldn't release so close to Avatar,
but
so more people would see it.
It's not its fault, though.
No,
it's counter programming. There's not gonna, not everyone's gonna want to see Avatar. And it's fine. So it's just so perfect, and it's one of those things that I really don't know what, if anything, changed. They gave all the characters enough backstory that you care and you like them, and that you got to see it, not just hear it. And they did a great job. I was stunned, and I was so stunned that I was like, like I said before, whenever I review a movie that y'all review, I edit your reviews and look at it, and it's like, okay, I kind of know I'm set in the box, because do I disagree with you? Do I like it more? Do I like it less? Am I just going to be in a tunnel and like going toward your review? And this one was like, no, you're absolutely right. Everything you said. And, just for listeners to know, when I was talking to you about this, I appreciate that you're, sometimes we could chat on, and say, okay, give me more about the review. Give me more about this, the score, because I would like to have that for everybody. That's what usually editors-in-chief and would do, is go back and forth and get the best content out, and,
right.
and I'm able to do that with you, and I really, really like it. And I was like, when I was reading your review, I don't see any negatives. And you gave it a 9. What's a negative? And then you said, okay, that's kind of predictable. So, okay. But still, that's, you could give it editor's choice for the movie too. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, it's kind of like giving it a 9.5, kind of. So it's kind of a cop out, and I understand that. But, it's a way to also say this is truly special. That's not just a perfect movie, it's special on top of that. So that's why the Editor's Choice Award exists, so that for that purpose. So, I was originally your review was just not a 10, but I was able to get that out of you, which I'm happy about. And it, whenever I watched it myself, I was like, okay, is this a 9 in Editor's Choice, or am I just going to disagree with you? And I was like, no, I think you hit it on the dot. If anything, I like it more. And I was like, and if I like it more, then there's only one way to go, which is all the way, which is like.
I mean, I really should have went like all the way, but I don't know. It's just
it's fine.
You don't little thing, but yeah, I don't want to. It's just that's just Yes,
that's
it's
how
one
you
of the
feel.
best films of the year. Yeah.
And that's how you feel, and that's fine. And you justified that, and that's what I want. That's what all reviews should be. Just justify your opinion and say what's wrong, what's good, and that's perfect. And so, yeah, this is kind of that's why it's like, okay, what do I have to critique when I actually watch it? And, I was happy to be able to see it back to back in 3D, with Avatar in 2 different theaters. But, it was cool. I was like, I have money and I have time, and, I'm going to use my time well and have fun. I never had like a double feature before, and especially a 3D double feature at 2 different theaters. So it's cool.
Yeah, I've never done that either.
I was tempted because there's like a lot of people there to ask people if you want to do an interview, but I was like, nah, that's kind of tacky. So,
I mean, you, at least you wouldn't been doing like a TikTok interview where you just hold up a cheap microphone and be like, "What'd you think of the movie?" And then you just do something stupid. I mean, it's not that tacky.
I mean, after the rewatched Avatar, I did an interview because 2 other guys that were there, and I did one with them, and we put that up on YouTube, and it was a pretty good little interview. And when I went to see Avatar 2 and high frame rate, there was a guy there, and I asked him, he's like, "No, I'm not interested." Like, okay, well, it's fine. It is what it is. And I was like, no, I don't want. I think the parents dropped off some other kids there. They're like, okay, you watch your thing, and we'll do over here, or that. And I was like, no, I can't ask the kids without their parents there. So it's like, no. So
yeah, that was like weird. Like, hey kid, if I give you some candy, will you do this review for me?
yeah. So it was literally the 2 adults. I was one of the 2 adults in the movie theater. It was me, and then this lady that was there with I guess her daughter or whatever. But and then the kids that were there were like 3 or 4 of them. And it was actually kind of funny because they were there and they're like making fun of the trailers beforehand, and they're like, "Oh, the Brady one. Oh, I definitely want to see that movie." And they're usually, you get mad at people talking in the theater, but I was like, these kids are actually pretty funny, and they were enjoying it. I could tell that they shut up when the movie started, and like, this is cool. So
that's good.
Yeah. I'm glad that I was able to watch it in 3D. I'm glad I was able to watch it. And I think I haven't checked my email. I have like 600, 700 emails. But I think when I got it was funny because I got Fandango. If you get so many tickets, you buy it from there, they give you a coupon, like $5 off your next ticket or whatever.
Right.
So I after I watched Avatar, I checked my email. Oh, here's your $5 ticket. Okay, thank you. And I used it right away and to get the ticket for Puss in Boots 2. And then I think when I bought the ticket for Puss in Boots 2, they gave me the Voodoo code for Puss in Boots 1. I was like, oh,
cool. Nice. I actually need to get that movie on digital.
So yeah, Puss in Boots is fantastic. Kind of rambling enough a little bit, but so we're gonna wrap it up. But yeah, it's fantastic. I'm glad we did have this Spoilercast after all. I wasn't sure if we needed to because we were able to cover most of it, if not all of the stuff. But having just a little bit more of that detail of why we really like it and some of the best parts of the movie, I think it was worth it a listen. So
I agree. Yeah.
All right, thank y'all for listening. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D, MK Ultra, Kevin Winter, Alex Folk, and Gravity Head Zero for your financial support on Patreon.com. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.